For today's workout, I'm going to start with a posture check. So I want you to start with your feet hip width apart. So feet together, toes out, heels out. Watch that both feet are pointing forward. Weight is evenly between each foot and front to back on the feet. If there's any slight discrepancy, take it towards the back, towards the heels. And I want you to start by circling the shoulders back, just to get some mobility in the shoulders. Let's do them one at a time, right and left, right and left, and together for the last one, and relax. Fingertips along the seams of your trousers. Think of pulling in your belly button towards your spine as if you're doing up a slightly tight pair of trousers. Keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now I want to talk about front to back with your posture. Although I tend to ask you to keep your chin retracted and your head up, I want you to look down for a moment and just see, first of all, are your feet hip width apart? If not, bring them in. Should be centre of the hips, centre of the knees, centre of the ankles. Also, check that you can see your ankles, because if you're standing forward on your hips, you might not see anything. You may need to tighten the thighs above the knees, pull those legs back and be aware. That might feel really awkward, but try and get your balance and stand upright. Those of you who have that problem often will have tight hamstrings, but you're very loose in your hip flexors. Those of us that have the opposite problem with tight hip flexors, often from sitting down at an office all day, often have much looser hamstrings, but have a tendency to stick our bottom out. So we want to tuck our pelvis under. And I want to check that. So placing the bony part of your wrists, the back of your wrists, against the bony protrusions on your hips, and you're going to bring the fingers forward and make a diamond shape. So thumbs are by your belly button, fingertips pointing down, heels of the hand against the pelvis. And I want you to just tilt the pelvis forward and backwards until those fingers are in alignment up and down. So the fingers aren't forward, they aren't back. When you're in that position, your pelvis should be level. Again, I'm going to ask you to quickly check that your hips aren't forward, that you're not standing forward or sitting forward on your hips. Bring those back. Shoulder position, neck position. And I want the weight evenly between both feet. So spread the toes and just be aware. Is the weight more on one side than the other? Have you bent one knee slightly? Have you dropped your hip out to the side? Try and be aware of how it feels. Is the weight even? Now we're going to shift the weight just subtly into the right side. So there'll be a small sway, but you're barely going to see anything at all. Now shift the weight into the left leg. And back to the right. As you see, I'm just slowly moving, leaning slightly to one side when the weight is into that foot. Coming back centre. Check your position again. Just look down, take the head back up, check your posture. Now I'm going to ask you to take the weight forward into your toes and back into your heels, and just feel how that feels. Now those of you that often stand forward on your hips might feel already as if you're overbalancing backwards just by standing upright. Remember to engage the core, pulling the belly button back towards your spine, keeping that spine in a neutral position. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to just release the knee of your right leg. Just drop down and come back to centre and take it to the other. And again, just be aware of what's happening. You might be sticking the hip out to the side, you might be leaning over to the side. Depends how your upper body's counteracting that change. But come back centre now, with the weight evenly both sides. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. We're going to do a little routine with the arms. Taking the right arm up, left arm up, and down. Left arm up, left arm, right arm, and release. Once more each side, and then I'm going to change it. Right, left, and release. Left arm. Keeping breathing. Similar sort of idea, right arm up. Left arm grabs hold of that wrist, keeping the elbow by the ear. Reach up and over, and if you want to, you can take that hip out to extend the stretch through the side of the body and coming down. Let's take it to the other side. Left arm up, right arm grabs the wrist, keeping the arm back, elbow straight, and release. Once more each side. Right arm up, left arm grabs the right wrist, and over. Hip out if you wish, or keep it straight, and release. Left side. Last time. Grab the wrist, taking it over, and release. I'll ask you to bring the hands up this time, palms together, pushing the palms together. Try and bring them down centrally in front of your face, centre of your chest, keeping that pressure, pointing the fingertips down, keeping some pressure there as you release, and come back up. Keep the breath going, fingertips together. Now as you're doing this, become aware of your posture again. Fingertips down, opening out. Press the fingers together, coming down, pressing down, opening out. Last time, bringing the hands down to the waist, fingertips down, and release. Do a small side bend. Just allow the arm to float slightly away from the body. Watch that you're not leaning forward. Watch you've not come forward on your hips or tucked your bottom out. And back centre. For the next bit, I want you to make sure the weight again is evenly on both feet. You might want to put your hands on your hips to feel what's going on, or take your arms out to the side for balance. And you're going to, without allowing the pelvis to shift, take your weight into your left leg, and you're going to slide your right leg forward, back, forward, and change. Forward, back. I'm doing this with my toe on the floor. If you're managing to keep the pelvis still, you might want to take the leg a little higher. You're going to bend the knee to get that leg to come through. Forward, back, forward, and change. Forward. So if you find you're really wobbling, keep that toe on the floor. I'm going to change it from here. Take that weight back evenly, and we're going to swing the leg, knee up, and leg out to the side. Knee up, leg out to the side. Arms is however is comfortable for you. I'm swinging mine because that's how I hold my balance the best. Now here, ideally your foot is pointing forward. This is more about the mobility than your balance. So if the toe is slightly out here, I'm not so worried. And let's release, change sides. Bringing the knee up, leg out to the side. Knee up, leg out to the side. Knee up, leg out to the side. Knee in, leg out to the side. Knee in, and out. Release. Give yourself a little rest, circling the hips round. Figure of 8, or circle one direction in the back, whatever feels good for you. Coming back, weight evenly on both feet. And again, you're going to take the weight into your left leg, bend the right knee slightly, and we're going to go to a circle. I'm going to do 4 on each side. You can either keep the toe on the floor, try and keep it a smooth, even speed all the way round. Try and keep this foot pointing forward, the foot that's stationary. And if you can, take the toe off the ground. If you're really well balanced, you might even take it up high. When you've done around 4, change sides. Make sure the weight's even. Give yourself a little wiggle in between if you need to. And do it at your own level. So toe on the ground, slightly hovering, or all the way up. But you're trying to control what is going on with the upper body. So if you're wobbling everywhere, come back to an easier option. Let's go back to the first side. Let me do 4 the other side. So watch your weights even. Watch as you step that you don't let the hip drop. Use your core. Use these muscles to hold you upright. Foot's pointing forward. And come to those circles. Slow and controlled. Changing sides. Rest in the middle if you need to. So just a reminder, as with all our balance exercises, we want to be making sure both feet are pointing forward. The moment you turn the feet out to the side, we relax these muscles at the side, and it really defeats the object of the exercise, which is to improve our balance. So today's exercise is tandem stand. With the tandem stand, we're looking to have feet one in front of the other, toes of the back foot touching the heels of the front, and you're going to wobble a little bit. Very quickly, anyone who struggles with that, you're going to have the feet maybe a little bit wider apart that way, or a little wider apart that way. So with me, let's start. Bring the feet to hip width apart, take the weight evenly into both hips, engage your core, breathe in, and as you breathe out, take that right foot in front of the left, so the toes and heels are touching. And then you're going to hold that. If you find you're really wobbling, if your mat's a bit thick, you might want to move, then by all means, just adjust. Slide your foot slightly forward or slightly out to the side. Or if you really need to, you can use fingertips, minimal, on a wall or a chair. Remember, engaging that core will help. Keeping the head up will help as well. The moment you look down, the weight of your head is going to make you topple forward. If you're not wobbling at all, I'm going to ask you to try and close your eyes. Just be really aware that you're not going to fall and hurt yourself. I'm not going to close my eyes. I'm going to stay with mine open. I'm wobbling slightly already. If you've had enough, rest, but I want you to hold this for a little while. Really get those muscles working. I'm really feeling that in that hip. Before we come out of it, just quickly check your feet are where you think they should be. Come out, and you might want to just give your hips a little bit of a circle, a little bit of a release, before we go on to the other side. So exactly the same. Let's start with the feet hip width apart. Maybe spread the toes. Make sure the weight's evenly between both feet. And you can take the left leg this time in front of the right. Toes touching. I'm going to slide back a little. I'm too far forward on my mat here. Keeping that head up in alignment. Engage your core. And don't look at me. If you're looking at me and I'm moving, you're going to wobble too. So try and look beyond me and at something stationary beyond. Keeping that head up, keeping that chin retracted, keeping the core engaged. Again, you have the option to move the feet position wider. You have the option to close your eyes if you're finding that your balance is really good. Way. Once you've had enough, come out. Hold it for a few more moments if you wish, and then just give yourself a little bit of a release. I'd like you to roll down to the floor using the Pilates roll down, so 4 or 5 times. If you know what you're doing, just carry on ahead and do it. If not, stand with your feet hip width apart, tuck your chin to your chest, rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Just as far as is comfortable, you can use your hands on your thighs for support if you wish, or you can hang down freely. Bend your knees if you wish. Breathing out as you go down. Breathing in as you come back up. And on the last time down, if you'd like to come down to a seated position. So grabbing your small towel, just putting it to one side for now in readiness, or you can leave it there to go under your head. You're going to come onto our backs, feet hip width apart. And I want you to bring your feet as close to your bottom as is comfortable with your feet flat on the ground. And I'm going to ask you to clench your bottom muscles, your buttocks, and lift up, rolling up one vertebrae at a time, as high as is comfortable as you breathe out, and return, breathing in. Rock and release your back. So as you do this, try and relax the backs of your thighs, your hamstrings, and squeeze your bottom as you roll and lift. Just as high as is comfortable, breathing out as you lift, in as you return. And next time, when you get to the top, I'm going to ask you to hold it up at the top as high as it's comfortable. Holding it up high. Now from there, I want you to lift the heel, just your heel of your right foot, off the ground onto your toe, and keep the pelvis as still as possible. Replace the foot, rolling down. Release your back if you need to, breathing out as you lift up as high as you can. Hold and pause, just lifting the heel, keeping on the toe, and you're keeping this as level as possible. And down, down again. So if you found that quite hard, stick with that. Next time, when you get to the top, if you're able to, I'm going to ask you to lift the foot about half an inch off the ground without allowing the hips to drop. If your hips drop, keep the toe on the ground and stay with the previous version. Breathing out as you come up. Again, when you get to the top, holding it as stable as possible. Just lifting that foot half an inch off the floor, down, back down. So again, if you're finding that version a little too hard, go back to the easier version. I'm going to take it on another level. If you're finding that was quite hard, stick with that version. You're going to come up to the top, and we're going to take the leg out straight, and you've got to really watch these hips aren't dropping. If they're dropping, please come back to the previous version. And again, lifting up, squeezing the bottom, making sure it is the bottom you're squeezing, not the hamstrings, the backs of the legs. Taking that leg out in line, knees together. Bring the foot back down. Release and relax. Just give it a little bit of a rest. Rock your back. And we're going to change the movement, continuing to work in the bridge position. This time, rather than challenging the hips, we're going to try and open up through the body by taking the arms above the head. So again, those that struggle with that one, you can just stick with a lift and lower. Bring the feet as close as is comfortably possible, feet hip width apart. Watch that you're not letting your knees drop in or out. You're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out as you lift up. Breathe in, float the arms over the head. Lifting up. Doesn't matter if your hands don't touch, bring the arms all the way down to the floor and then release the bottom. If it's too much, either rest or stay with the version with no arms. Breathing out as you lift. Breathing in, float the arms above the head, lifting the hips as high as is comfortable. Doesn't matter how far back the arms go. Next breath, you're going to bring the arms all the way to the floor. Once the hands touch, take the bottom down. You're going to do 2 more like that. Release the back in between. Squeeze the buttocks. Lifting up as you breathe out. Breathing in. Breathing out, return the hands. Next breath, take the bottom down, rolling down 1 vertebrae at a time. Let's have the last one. Rolling up, squeezing the bottom to the top. Next breath, float the arms above the head. Bring the arms all the way back down to the mat and then release the bottom and gently roll back down. Once again, bring your knees in, give them a circle, opening out through the hips and back the other way. And we're going to roll onto our side now. I want you to start in a nice straight line. So line your heels, your knees, your hips and your shoulder. Your towel on top of your arm, under your neck. Now, I want you to be sure here that your hips aren't rolling back or forward, and also that your foot is stretched away, your top foot stretched away so the heels are in alignment, so you're lifting your waist away from the floor. Now, if it's uncomfortable for your arm, bring it back here. Take the weight on the hand in front. Keeping that foot parallel with the floor, so have a quick look down, see what's going on. Bring your head back up. And we're just going to lift and lower. Think about leading with a heel. Now, if you know you're nice and stable, you can take your hand on top of the leg. But just watch that you're not pointing the toes towards the sky. Really lengthen that top leg away, and if you find you're wobbling, bring the hand back down in front to get that balance. Let's change that slightly. Now all of you bring your hand in front. You're going to bring the knee up to touch the elbow if you can. Straighten the leg. And this time I'm going to ask you to turn the foot up and allow it to come back. Straighten the leg. Bring it in. Take it in. Twist up. See a totally different movement. Try and keep the head in alignment. Turn the toe up. So your leg's going to go a lot higher this time as you twist and up and in. If it gets too much, then rest. And when you've had enough, bring that leg across in front. Give it a bit of a stretch. Give it a rub or a slap if you want. Okay. I'm going to bring my arm back in because for me it's more comfortable. Out straight into the side or even slightly in front. Just be aware that your neck is as relaxed as possible, and we're going to work the bottom leg. Want the inner thigh to the ceiling, so you're going to have that foot parallel with the floor again and lift it lower. Now if this position's really uncomfortable, you can take the leg behind and lift and lower here. Try and avoid jackknifing the body. Try and stay nice and upright. So lift and lower. Now, softly pointing the toe, I'm going to ask you to circle that leg forward. 2, 3, 4, and the other way. 2, 3, 4. Back the other way if you can. Again, remember, if this is too much, any time. Rest, you can either join back in or wait for the next exercise. So changing direction again. And rest. taking that top leg down to join. Now, this is a little bit harder than the last one, so if you're finding that you're really wobbly here, you can bend the bottom leg slightly, but watch that top leg's in alignment. And we're going to do that same circling movement forward. You can use the hand to keep the balance. Watch that you're not opening up through the hip. We're trying to keep those hips stacked on top, changing direction every 3 or 4 circles. If it gets to be too much, bring that leg forward. Just stretch through the hip. Beautiful. Stretch it out. Okay. Watch for a moment. I'm going to come onto my front. I'm going to move the towel out of the way because we're going to turn round shortly. Coming onto the front. Press the head down. Little kicks. So join me when you're ready. Just a double kick back towards the buttocks. And bring the hands under the shoulders, pushing back into child's. If you want to, you can allow the elbows to stretch down towards the mat. Feel that stretch across the shoulders and through the lower back. And grab your towel, and we're going to slip round the other direction to work the opposite leg. So again, towel under the neck to keep the neck in alignment. You're starting off in a nice straight line. Bend the hand down if you need to. So again, watch what's happening on. We don't want to be leaning back. We don't want to be jackknifed. Have a look, line yourself up with something. Keep the head back. Hand in front if you need to. On the top if you're really well balanced. Foot in line, lift and lower. And again, watch your leg is extended away so the hips, knees and ankles are in alignment. Pulling that waist away from the floor. Resting the upper body and the head. If it's not comfortable, adjust your towel accordingly until you are comfortable. And again, foot flat. Watch that you're not opening up from the hip. You've had enough rest, but we're going to take it in. And then turning the foot up so that you now are twisting from the hip. Bring it in. Push the heel to the wall. Up, down, in, and open up through the hip. In. If it gets too much, please rest. You can join back in or wait for the next variation. We're going to make that the last one. Bringing that leg across in front. Give me a little bit of a rest and a stretch. I'm going to start lifting and lowering the bottom leg. So think of the heel, let the foot stay relaxed. It's nothing to do with the foot or the ankle. You're just lifting the whole leg. Knee stays straight. You're feeling that on the inner thigh. If you need to, take that foot behind. So it's this sort of movement. A little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing if I take my leg behind. I'm going to take my leg back in front. Let's take it to a circle forward. Softly pointed foot. Keep the ankle and foot relaxed. And the other way. And reverse. And the other way. And rest. Taking that leg out in front. Bend the bottom knee this time, and we're going to go with those circles forward. changing every 3 or 4. Back the other way. And I'm going to ask you to stay in this position for a moment. Just relax the leg forward. I'm going to roll onto my front and show you the next exercise. We're going to come out into almost starfish position. You can use your towel to put your head on if you want, or just move it out of the way. Legs the width of the mat. Arms the width of the mat. Lifting opposite arm and leg. Think of pulling away on the diagonal rather than lifting. So it's a reach and then a lift. Try and pull the belly away from the mat. Breathing out as you lift, in as you lower. Knees, bringing the hands back under the shoulders, coming up onto all fours, and let's just do a little cat and cow to release through the back. Okay, from here, we're going to come into opposite arm and leg slides. So I'm going to ask you to come back and sit and watch me for a moment with this one. Again, I'm aware of your neck. I want your neck to be relaxed. So I'm going to show you the next 3 different moves we're going to do, and then I'm going to talk you through them. I'm going to do these quite fast. You're going to do them a little slower. We're going to start with an arm float. You need to watch that you're not back here. You're in alignment. We're going to just do an arm float. An arm float. It can be small. You're trying to keep the shoulder girdle as still as possible. When I say to move on, we're going to go to little leg slides. They slide along the mat. It's not a lift. You're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. If you find that you're lifting, take your weight forward into your hands. If you need to, take your hands onto a rolled up towel. Okay. Or use your fists. For the final part, we're going to do a hold. So this time we're going to lift the arm and leg up and hold, take it down, other arm and hold. So if you're ready to join me, coming on onto all fours, knees hip width apart, hands hip width apart, make sure your wrists are comfortable, and we're going to go to floats. Breathing out as you lift away, in as you come back. Make sure you're not sat back too far. And if you need to stretch back and relax, circle your wrists, please do. If not, you can go straight on to the slides. But do rest when you need. If your wrists are uncomfortable, sit up, stretch back, circle through the wrists to release. Try to keep that head in line and looking down towards your mat so that your neck is relaxed. Be aware of what's going on with your pelvis here. I'm going a little fast here, you could slow it down, keeping that foot sliding along the floor. Next time, I'm going to ask you to float your right hand up and your left hand down. Nice straight line, and hold. You're still looking down towards the floor, keep your neck relaxed. Try and keep that as stable and the back as flat as possible. Hold as long as you can. Let's bring it back in. Changing sides. If you need to rest in between, please do. We're going to do 2 each side. If you can't hold it as long, you might do 3 or you might do 2 and rest. Hold. One last one. And rest. Let's come back into that cat and cow. And stretch back into child's pose. Reaching forward with the fingers. Now I'm going to ask you to take both hands to the right hand side of your mat and just lean into the left side of the body. Back to the centre and change over to the other side. Just giving a lovely stretch through the side of the body. And back centre. The workout we're going to do today is for the shoulders, opening up across the chest, trying to improve any roundedness in the shoulders, and just getting general mobility in the shoulder area. So I want you to sit comfortably. If you want to sit on a block or towel, please do. Legs out straight, whatever is good for you. I'm going to turn sideways, but stay facing me so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. We're going to start with our VW exercise. So the arms come up wide into a big V, and you're going to pull them down and back. I'm going to come up onto my knees a little bit better so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm putting the arms up, I'm squeezing the shoulder blades together as I come back. I'm reaching up, I'm pulling back down, squeezing the shoulder blades together, opening up the chest, pulling back. Think of reaching out towards the corners of the room and back. Elbows in towards the waist. Palms are facing forward. Rotate. Just 2 more. And release. A little bit of a rotation of the shoulders just to release. Now, bringing the arms in close to the body. So they're back here. You're keeping the elbows touching the waist, and we're going to open out to the side. Now make sure this movement is coming from the shoulder, not the elbow. And the hands go no further forward than straight in front. So we don't cross the hands across the body. We're opening up in the dumb waiter, stretching across the chest, avoiding lifting the chest if you can. Let's change that slightly. And we're going to reach out to Cleopatra, reaching the hands out as far as it's comfortable, coming back in. So happy for you to be seated. I've come up on my knees just so that you can see what I'm doing here. We often do this one in a standing position. Today I've decided to do it seated. Save you getting up and down from the floor. Palms come down. We're going to do exactly the same thing. So the hands are pointing towards the floor. Elbows are pulled back in by the waist. And we're opening up across the chest and stretching. In and out to start. Still keeping those hands pointing downwards. And this time reaching out as far as is comfortable. If that isn't comfortable for you, you don't have to go quite as far. Bring the elbows right back in. Once they are, come back to pointing straight forward towards me. Arms out to the side. Stretch as far as is comfortable. And release. We're going to come down onto the floor next, but I'd like to show you first of all what I'm going to do next. We're going to be lying on the floor, and you're going to have your hands pointing up towards the ceiling. So I'm going to get you to watch me on the floor first, but I'm going to get you to try this with one arm in a seated or kneeling position first. I want you to put your hand on the shoulder. Watch this elbows up. Quite often I see people down here. I want the arm up. Hand on the shoulder, and you're going to rotate forward and back. So if I take that against the wall, I'm rotating on the elbow as far forward as I can and as far back. Before you actually come down, I'm going to ask you to do that. Try that on the other side while you watch me on the floor. So when I come down, I check that my back's got a neutral spine, feet are hip width, arms start out, straight out to the side in a cross. And then I bend up to this position. Now, I'm going to ask you to look towards your right side when you do it and watch. You're not going to touch the floor necessarily. Make sure it's coming from the shoulder. You're trying not to lift the shoulder. We're just trying to improve mobility in the shoulder. So coming down onto the mat and joining me. If you're struggling and you're finding that your hand's coming in and out, which often happens, concentrate on one hand at a time. If you've got the hang of it, you can have one arm going one way, one the other. But just be aware that your hand should be parallel with the side of your mat, parallel with the side of the body. Watch you're not letting your elbows slip down or too high up. So this is about getting extra mobility in the shoulder, getting the rotation in the arms. And I'm going to ask you to come back with your awareness to what's going on with your lower body. Is your spine in neutral? Have you allowed your knees to drop together? Is your neck relaxed? Now look back at your hands and check that what you're doing is what we intended. And release. The next exercise, I'm going to move a little bit further forward so I don't catch on the wall, so you need to make sure you've got a bit of space. And we're going to take the arms out to the side with the fingertips on the floor. We're going to reach above, so you might want to sit up briefly and see what I'm doing here. We're bringing the arms down into sort of snow angels. It's a bit like that VW we were doing earlier. You're keeping the fingertips on the floor if you can, elbows too if you're able. Sliding the shoulder blades down, opening up, bringing the elbows down towards the waist. Try and keep that back in neutral, keep the abdominals engaged and keep breathing. Okay, and release. Just shake out. I'm going to move back on my mat so I'm comfortable. Again, you might want to quickly look to one side or come up to sitting. I'm going to take the arms up towards the ceiling, palms facing, and drop the shoulders so they're relaxed into the mat. Open up across the middle of the back, and then just lift the shoulder off the ground. Keep the elbows straight. This is all coming from the shoulders. This is moving the shoulders in a different direction. It's forward and back. Reaching towards the sky. Relaxing down. Again, thinking about the neutral spine. Trying to keep the lower body in alignment. Feet and hips. Feet and knees even hip width apart. From here, let's again take both arms up in the air, and we're going to do opposite arm floats. So one hand comes down one direction as the other arm goes in the opposite direction. Coming back up, just concentrating on the arms here. Breathing out as you go away, try and avoid lifting the chest. Doesn't matter if the hand doesn't touch behind, just take it as far as it's comfortable. I'm going to take us now into some arm strength work. So come up to sitting, however is comfortable for you. And we're going to take our hands with the forearms away from us. So we're leaning back, hands pointing inwards. Now, if that's really uncomfortable, start with the hands in that position and come onto your fists. You can also put your towel or a cushion or block underneath to take the hands a little bit higher, which will make it a little bit easier. Now, our easiest version is just to bend the arms backwards, taking the weight into the back of the arms, taking it down gently. So all can start with that when it's a warm-up for anyone who wants to do the harder version. For those that don't, just stick with this version. The rest of you, if you want to take it harder, come up and take the weight into those arms. So that is the next version, just holding it there. If you're able, you can take the legs away into a straight line, keeping that neck relaxed, weight in the arms, getting some strength in the arms. If it gets too much, bring one or both legs back. When you've had enough, bring the bottom back down, give it a shake out. I'm going to immediately go into a stretch here, so sit comfortably, taking the right hand onto the left shoulder. Just let it slide as you push against the fleshy part of the arm. Feel that stretch across your shoulder. Let's change sides, take it over to the other side. Hand on the shoulder. Press against the fleshy part of the arm. And just stretch. You're going to feel that back of the shoulder there. And then the same arm straight up. Bend at the elbow, and you can pull at the top, you can push here, or those that can reach can grab with fingers, or if you've got a strap, you can grab with a strap in between. If you can't reach comfortably, then stick with this version. Stretching through the tricep, the back of the arm that we just worked. And release. Just take it to the other side. Other arm comes up. Drop it back, and you can push or pull or clasp with the fingers behind. Again, if you can only just reach or you can't reach, you're better off holding here or here. So whatever's comfortable for you, as long as you're feeling the stretch in that muscle in the back of the arm. So I'm going to extend the work in the arms, and we're going to go into plank, which is also going to work the whole of the body. And I'm going to ask you to watch me briefly. I'm going to show you the different versions. Very easiest version, all fours. Slightly harder is coming forward here and holding. Those that can, tuck the feet, hold it here, but make sure you don't belly flop out. Coming back this way. So pick your version, any one of the three. Try and keep the head looking down. Don't look at the screen, don't look at me. Keep the head in alignment and relaxed. Hold as long as you comfortably can. We're going to do that 3 or 4 times if you can, whichever version you choose. So holding. Taking the weight into the arms. Watch, don't let the bottom drop down. We're looking for a straight line from the head through to either the knees or the heels. And when you need a rest, come back and stretch. Taking it again into whichever version you wish. Weights through into the arms. Watch you not dropping down into your back. Just be really aware of where your back is, keeping your neck relaxed. And when you need a rest, stretch back. If you need to circle your wrists again, do. If you want to put a towel under your wrists or use your fists, that's fine as well. Let's come through and do that a third time, whichever version you choose. You might have decided for this last attempt to go for an easier version. And then when you've had enough, just stretch back. reaching the fingers forward as far as they'll comfortably go. Feel that stretch through the armpits. Drop the head. Feel the stretch through the upper back. Just come round now and sit with the legs nice and wide. As wide as is comfortable. So if you're here, that is fine. I want you to feel the stretch there. Now if you feel your back is dropping back, please grab a block, sit on something. I want you to be sitting upright. If you really find that it's uncomfortable on your lower back, if you need to bend your knees slightly, do. We're going to get a bit of a stretch on the inner thigh. But what we're doing now is about the rotation of the body, of the spine, getting some opening up through the spinal area. Take the arm wide, and you're going to reach the left arm towards the right leg. Aim for the knee, twisting at the waist, and then folding from the waist, keeping the head in line. Just go as far as is comfortable, keeping this other hip down, and reach as far as is comfortable. Some of you aren't going to go any further than your knee. You may get all the way down to your foot or not. If you have osteoporosis, please keep this small. It shouldn't feel uncomfortable for anyone, so make it smaller. Think about folding from the waist. It's not about rounding the upper back. Opening out through the chest. Breathing out as you go down, because we're compressing the lungs and the body as we fold forward. Remember, keeping both hip bones on the floor. It's a sore exercise. Reset in the middle, breathing out as you go down, in as you come back up. Bring the hands to the side, sit tall, and think of folding forward from the waist. So you're going to really feel that on the inner thighs. If you can straighten the legs out, do. If not, don't worry too much if you need to bend them slightly. Now for some of you, particularly those that are sitting on a cushion, or should be sitting on a cushion, you might find you're even leaning back slightly here. But as long as you're feeling that stretch through the inner thighs, I'm going to ask you to keep your right leg straight, bring your left knee in if you can. Those that can't bring the leg in, leave them where they are. So if you've got problems with your knee, leave it there. You're going to take your hands out to either side. I'm going to ask you to take your left hand up by your ear, reach up and stretch, reaching that hand up towards the corner of the ceiling, keeping the arm back by the ear, and release, coming over to the other side. You have a choice here. You can take the arm up, reach and stretch, or you can lean down into that into the hand, drop onto the knee, and really extend that stretch all the way through the body. Just bring that back down and change legs. So if you've got your legs wide, obviously you're not going to lift up, but you can get a similar stretch. Right arm up, reach up, and feel that stretch through the side of the body, particularly towards the back of the rib cage and the waist area. And release. Let's change to the other arm, so you can either come up and just hold it here, and if your legs are wide, that's what you do, or you can lift and take the weight into the hand. And release. So that's it. We're going to finish our workout today with some stretching. So I'm going to ask you to start by sitting with your legs out straight in front. Now, I want to really be aware of what's going on with your back here. So if your back's arching down you might want to sit on your towel or block, or give the knees a little bit of a bend in order to sit upright. Take the arms out to the side, and I want you to be feeling that stretch in the back of the hamstrings, back of the thighs. Those of you with looser hamstrings will have straightened legs and might want to fold forward from the waist, keeping the chin retracted, keeping the body upright. The purpose of this is just to get some more flexibility in the back of the hamstrings, back of the thighs. Okay, from there, I'm going to ask you to bring your right knee into your chest and hug it, and sit tall, and slowly move your toes away from you, so working forward and keeping the body in alignment, and again leaning forward to stretch through the left leg, the left hamstring. Trying to keep that chin retracted, head in line, just concentrating on the one leg. And hold. And release. And we're going to switch legs. So it doesn't matter if that leg's slightly bent, as long as you're feeling that stretch. And you're going to try and lean forward. Now some of you are still going to be here. You're going to feel that stretch here. You're just going to try and straighten the leg down. The rest of us will try and ease forward, trying to keep that back in alignment, just resting against the leg. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see. You can stay however you're seated at the moment. Keeping that right leg straight, you're going to bring the left knee in and take the foot over. Try and keep that leg in alignment forward. Try and get the foot on the floor. And you're going to pull on the leg. So I've got my right arm against my left leg, hugging in and pulling to feel the stretch through the hip. Take the hand close behind the body, pull the shoulders slightly back, let the head gently follow, and stretch and rotate. And we're going to take it back the other way. So taking the elbow on the inside, try and keep that leg upright, don't let it flop down, foot stays on the floor. Hand either up or on the ankle, other hand close to the bottom, and a gentle rotation. Think of pulling the shoulder back and just letting the head follow. Resisting the knee and the elbow against each other. From there, those that can comfortably, you're going to take the inside of the foot against the thigh and let that knee drop down. If that's uncomfortable, you can do this with a straightened leg out to the side, or you can support your leg slightly just to take the pressure off. We're trying to open out through the inner thigh. And release. Let's change legs. So this time the left leg is straight, right leg comes in. This leg stays forward, foot goes flat on the floor. Left arm hugs right knee. You're pulling that across to feel the stretch through the hip. This hand goes close to your bottom. Sit as upright as you can. Try not to lean back into the arm. Concentrate on getting that stretch through the hip. Pull the shoulder back and let the head gently follow. And we're going to rotate that the opposite way. So taking the elbow on the inside of the knee, make sure that leg doesn't move. You can take the hand down if you want, or keep it up. Sit tall, pull the left shoulder back, and let the head follow. Foot should be flat on the mat. A lovely rotation of the spine. And release. Bringing that foot in close to the side of the other leg. Again, you can have the leg out open. If that's uncomfortable, support the leg. Just put the foot where it is comfortable to get a stretch through the inner thigh. Sit tall. And again, those that are able to, soles of the feet together, open out. If that's not comfortable, take the legs wide. Just hold it there for a moment, allowing thighs to stretch out. I'm going to do a tree hug or a hug stretch. That's going to give a lovely stretch at the back. I'm going to turn so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. I'm taking the hands one on top of the other, pulling them away from the body, and then opening the elbows out. So you're going to keep your hands shoulder height, but that's the sort of position. It's almost like you're hugging a round tree, but you're pulling away and pulling out with the elbows, and you feel a lovely stretch across the back. And then if you drop the head down slightly and look towards your feet, keep a bit of gap under your chin. You're not sticking your chin to your chest. Keep the hands in line with the shoulders and enjoy that stretch. Okay. You can stay facing forward. I'm going to turn again so that you can see. Sit comfortably. That might be cross-legged. That might be straight or slightly bent legs. Hands out to the side. You're going to take the right arm up by the ear. Reach up. Rest down into the other hand. And feel a stretch over. So we're stretching through the side of the body, keeping that hip down. And release. Try and keep that arm straight. We're not bending at the elbow. Other arm comes up by the side of the ear. So as if you're between two panes of glass. Lean down to the other side and reach over. So it's not reaching forward, it's reaching over. Beautiful. I'm going to turn again so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking my arms behind me and squeezing my shoulder blades together. I'm trying to get those shoulder blades as close together as possible. Try not to lift the chest. Keep it down. Feel the stretch across the chest. Lovely. That's all for today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.